Hello and welcome to the wonderful word of spiccato. You know, the things that violists do best. I'd like to play for you the very famous solo we have at the beginning of the Opus 59 number 1 quartet of Beethoven. Who can forget such a great moment in the chamber music literature? No, seriously, violists are called on to do spiccato more than any other instrument, and so we need to do it well. So we have an understanding of it a little bit, I think. First thing I would like to point out is that contrary to pulling a good sound, where our arm kind of hangs in terms of weight, that would be this picture. For legato, we want to play so we're pulling through the string. In spiccato, we want to draw a tangent to the string. So, to play spiccato, my whole arm structure sets up a little bit higher. Point number one. Point number two has to do with somewhat the geometry of the bow. And if I were to teach spiccato from the start, what I would do is I would have people just drop the bow on the string and feel that natural bouncing. Then you could try moving to the side. It's almost like skipping a rock across a pond. Kind of see how many you can make it continue. But it's just a relaxed bow hand going on the pivot of the thumb and middle finger. Adding or deleting no pressure. That would be the basis for the most natural stroke, the jeté. So, the slow jeté or ricochet is played in the middle of the bow. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a fun exercise you might want to try. So in the ricochet or jeté, the bow is thrown, the hand stays at a fixed angle, and the bow torques up and down vis-a-vis the string. Maybe the most natural. This is another kind of spiccato. This is the one we use the most. I call it controlled spiccato. In this, the frog and the tip move in the same arc. So you don't want to be doing this for fairly obvious reasons when you're doing the spiccato. If you look, both the frog and the tip are moving. This starts out by drawing a letter U in the air, and then making it smaller until it fits the size you want for spiccato. Now we all know that the big problem with spiccato is it can be uneven, and we work our whole life to do that. Some great ways of practicing to make spiccato even are to play in triplets, or to play in groups of 2 or 4 with the up bow on the beat. So that really helps even the spiccato. But if you're going to make your spiccato even, you should know why it's uneven in the first place, or how to measure it. So after years of research, I finally have come up with a word to describe this thing. And it is how far the bow bounces off the string. Remember I said we draw an arc here. And just by nature, when we come off the string here at the frog, or at the end of the down bow I should say, the bow is often closer to the string than it is when we come this way. So we get this kind of thing because the bow is closer to the string, and if we drop it both ways, it's going to drop faster when it's closer to the string. So we want to measure that gap of how far the bow is off the string. I've studied a lot of pedagogy, and I've never seen that gap referred to by a name. I've developed a name, and I'd like you to use it. It's called the Gesund. Here is the Gesund at the end of the down bow. Here's the Gesund at the end of the up bow. You notice that they are equal. So you want to measure, wait for it, the Gesundheit. Haha. So if your Gesund is equal in both the down bow and up bow, then you will play evenly. And so that's a very, very, very important thing for you to measure. If you don't know what's causing your unevenness, you don't know how to fix it. So you may need to encourage the bow to come a little bit off the string at the end of the down bow. That's done with a little extra pinky pressure. I hear there's a famous violinist that was so good at this that he got a nickname. Yeah, Mr. Zuckerman. Just kidding. So make sure your down bow Gesund is equal to your up bow Gesund. All right? So we've talked about two kinds of spiccato. The kind of uncontrolled or natural ricochet, the controlled spiccato. Now I'm going to talk with you about the sautille. Sautiller comes from a verb meaning to jump. Maintenant, je saute. And in the sautille, the bow jumps off the string. It goes fast enough that it comes off the string. It's derived from the détaché. And we all know détaché doesn't mean detached. Détaché means legato. Don't ask me, ask the French. Okay, so détaché stroke that goes fast enough eventually becomes a sautille. So it's just like an airplane going down the runway at 100 miles an hour. If it's like a 737 or a 767 or something like that, will never get into the air. But you hit escape velocity of 150 or 160 miles an hour, it will fly into the air. So a slow sautille is kind of an oxymoron, but it's just a détaché. Whereas a fast détaché becomes a sautille. Sometimes people say that the stick leaves the string, but the hair doesn't. It's a good way of describing it. But I think if you think of the bow wanting to bounce of its own accord, that's a really, really neat idea. Okay, so that's the three kinds of spiccato: the ricochet, the controlled spiccato, and the sautille. Now, for Mendelssohn Scherzo, some people say the stick should bounce, but the hair should be on the string. Maybe, perhaps. I like to think of that as being this kind of sautille stroke. Now, sautille, as we talked about, will not work slower than a speed. You can't do a slow sautille. Just by laws of nature, do not allow that. Most of us have an upper limit on our controlled spiccato that's not very fast. All these stars are the famous excerpts for the viola that lie in the middle between most people's controlled spiccato and sautille. So if you want to get good at this stuff, you have to get your controlled spiccato faster until it reaches the sautille. Move this barrier until it gets there, and you have almost no gap. One last thing I'd like to talk to you about, and that has to do with where in the bow we play spiccato. Now, if you ask a group of 10 young string players where to play spiccato in the bow, you will hear, oh, the balance point. And that's a very, very good explanation that works for some speeds and some spiccatos. But it is not a one-size-fits-all, as I'm about to show you. To find out where in the bow to do spiccato, I suggest you do this exercise. Start with a very slow spiccato. Go all the way to sautille. back to slow spiccato. You'll notice as I do that, I go from the frog a bit out in the bow to where the sautille works. And as I slow down, I come back towards the frog. So this has come up from observing this. I've come up with the axiom, the slower the lower. The slower the spiccato, the lower you play in the bow. Does that work for all spiccatos? Yes, it really does. The exception being, because all rules have an exception, being the sautille. The sautille only pretty much works in one place in the bow for each speed that it works at. But it works with our good friend the ricochet. Do you remember from this? As I put more notes in each bow, I go higher. So, the slower the lower always works. I would suggest that you add one acceleration to your practice every day, so you learn that. The other thing that you might do to get better at spiccato is to just keep the speed the same and move around locations. So, because I've been doing this for as long as any 3 or 4 of you have been alive, I go to pretty much the right spot in the bow for each speed. But let's take the speed. And I'm going to move myself out of my comfort level. I can do it at the tip, kind of. Doesn't sound very good. Certainly doesn't feel very good. So I'm going to come back. That's starting to feel much better. What happens if I come to the frog? Oh my goodness, I have to lift. I have to lift every single stroke, and that's not fun. So you can play a game of Goldilocks and the 3 bows, perhaps. This one was too high in the bow. This one was too low in the bow. And this one was just right. So you can find the right location of any spiccato speed just by keeping the notes the same and moving around until you're in the right place. Okay? So that tells you some of the basics of spiccato, and I hope that you can use those to develop your spiccato and that you can be bouncing happily in such beautiful solos as, remember, or maybe a Mozart solo. Have a great day.